Hi, folks. This is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report. You know, one of the things that I've mentioned is the changes each season. And one of the changes that a couple of the people I was talking to brought up to me was that waters that normally are just chock full of weeds right now, summertime, some of the waters can get so chock full of weeds that you can't even see the water. But my friend was on Bonaparte Lake, and this is just an example. And he was also on Butterfield Lake. And he told me that those areas that are usually been so weedy were almost, there was no weeds. And I've seen this happen so many times. You know, you look, and let's think about what we all would know, even whether we fish or not. In the springtime, the flowers start blooming, but you notice everything that blooms has a period of time, and then it's gone. It's gone until next year. They don't stay in full blossom for that long. And it's the same way underneath the water. In the early spring, or not just right after ice out, it takes a while, but as spring really comes upon us, sometimes the weeds grow really quickly, and they can become just so heavy and so dense that it makes it tough to fish. And I've seen this myself in some of my favorite areas. But then, maybe a month later, I'll go back to the same place, and that very type of weed has almost disappeared. And there's other types of foliage in the water, other types of strains of weeds that are growing up. And wherever you have weeds, you have a potential home for fish, especially if they're not dying off and poisonous. And so if you can find certain weed beds, and certain type of weed beds might be better one time of the year than other. And this is a time of year where I've really had much better luck in those waters, ponds and small bodies of water that get very weedy. It's something to think about because conditions are always changing. They're always changing. And not just from 1 week to the other or 1 month to the other, but each year we're going to find, no matter what water we go to, that it may not be quite the same as it was the year before. There's always changes taking place, and we have to take advantage of those changes. We have to find those new places where the conditions are just right, where the fish tend to stay there, where they tend to feed there. And I found this, doesn't matter whether it's a lake, pond, or a river or stream. It really can change from year to year, and you have to be willing to experiment and try to discover. That's part of in my mind, it's part of the most fun part of fishing, because there's always a question. There's always something for you to solve. And to me, that's what really keeps people coming back. If you cast out and catch a fish every cast, I won't say it'll become boring, but it's not going to have much suspense, much discovery or anything, because you know, and I found this happen many times in the Grass River fishing for bass. Many times I've gone out and after maybe 50 fish, and I'm thinking, okay, the same thing's going to happen. I'm going to feel that tick. I'm going to set the hook. There's going to be a pull on the end of the rod, and eventually I'm going to take my fingers down and release the hook and watch that fish swim away and cast again. Same thing's going to happen. So, and so that does become rote. It does become, I'll never say boring, but you have to have those times where none of that happens. And you got to discover a new way, a new place, a new lure or something to bring that back again. And then you'll remember it all. But it's that change that keeps me loving, no matter what happens, to go out and be on the water fishing. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report.